On some newer GM vehicles, you need to enter a service mode in order to be able to clear codes. Let's walk through how to do that on this 2024 Acadia. Okay, now on this vehicle, I know there's a code in the ABS system. So if we go into analog brakes and we go just to clear codes, it's going to say clear codes tip. Scanner will check if codes exist before clearing them. Turn the ignition on and keep the engine off or ready off. Please make sure the vehicle is in service mode. So that's that key point. So if I hit continue, it's going to try and clear it, and then it's going to say clear codes failed because we're not in that service mode. So I'll exit this, go into clear codes again. I'm going to wait on that screen. Now what we need to do is we need to hold down the start button for 6 seconds, and then it should enter service mode. All right, so now it's on and it's in service mode. So if I hit continue this time, goes through to clear. And codes are cleared. So there we go. Easy enough. Just hold down that button for 6 seconds, enter the service mode, and you're able to clear the codes. We hope you found this clip helpful. Find hundreds of other quick tips and useful training videos right here on the Snap-on Diagnostics YouTube channel. Hello everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining our diagnostic training session today. Now if you have any questions throughout the session, if you're joining us on Zoom, just look at the top of the bottom of your screen, wherever your Zoom controls are. You should see a little button that says Q&A. Click on that button, type in your question, and I'll get to those at the end of the session. If you're joining us on YouTube, just feel free to use the live chat function, and I'll get to those at the end as well. So my name is Jason Gabrinas. I'm one of Snap-on's National Diagnostic Technical Trainers. Been in the training department the last 12 years or so, traveling around North America, helping techs and shop owners get the most out of their diagnostic equipment. Before I did that, it was a couple years as a diagnostic sales rep with Snap-on, so I had about 30 different franchisees I worked with, as well as the shops that they serviced in order to help everyone get the most out of their diagnostic needs. And before I did that, it was 8 years at Subaru, so worked in a dealership, and just over time, I guess, became that default diag guy in the shop. So I was ended up with the drivability problems, the intermittent problems, the weird wiring problems that would show up on those cars. And that's really where I cut my diagnostic teeth, was trying to figure out all those weird head scratcher cars that would come into my bay. And before that, a bunch of other miscellaneous wrenching jobs. Been about 30 years underhood experience for me. So our topic at hand today is we are continuing our OEM-specific ADAS training we've been doing all year, and the OEM of the week is Nissan. So we're going to talk about Nissan, what makes them unique in the ADAS world. Now, much like any other manufacturer out there, in the ADAS components that are out there, they're going to use radars, cameras, and ultrasonic sensors. They use the radar for adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, cross-traffic alert, cameras for front, rear, and 360 view, and some other things, as we'll find out as we go a little further here. And they also have ultrasonic sensors for park assist, but not all of them do. Some of them don't necessarily use it. So we'll just talk about it. The sum of all of their ADAS components, as far as in Nissan's world, is what they call Pro Pilot Assist. So it takes all of the cameras and radars and all that stuff, and they call it Pro Pilot Assist is their brand name for it, right? So it's a hands-on driver assist system that combines Nissan's intelligent cruise control and steering assist technologies, and includes a stop and hold function that can bring the vehicle to a full stop, hold in place, and it can bring you back up to speed when traffic starts moving again. So if you're in stop and go traffic, it will do this all on its own. Of course, with caveats in there as to doesn't always necessarily work, but Pro Pilot Assist with Navilink syncs with navigation system, providing additional information to better predict the freeway ahead. New features include speed adjust by route that can help reduce your speed for tight curves and off-ramps, as well as speed limit assist that gives drivers the option to quickly adjust the set speed to the posted speed limit. So keep you honest, I guess. Both features allow for a more intuitive, enjoyable drive. So that's their marketing behind their ADAS, right? Other manufacturers, of course, have other brand names that they might refer to it to. So this first vehicle we're going to look at is going to be a 2018 Rogue, one of their more popular year make model that are out there. It's one of the top sellers in North America in general. But 2018 Rogue, and as far as what they use, this was interesting. 3 radars, one in front for adaptive cruise control, 2 in the rear for the blind spot monitors, as you would expect in many vehicles. 5 cameras, front view, rear view, and 360 view, but in this case, couldn't really find any information on ultrasonic sensors, so they may just use the backup camera. As far as I can suss out, that's what it uses. So the front camera, the one that goes up in the windshield there, looks kind of like this. And in that case, we would go into the lane camera on the tool. And then, of course, we'd be under special functions if we wanted to go in and calibrate it. And then the lane departure warning camera calibration. So as procedural, calibrate the lane camera. Please follow service manual instructions for lane camera aiming. There are some distances that need to be measured. There are some targets that need to be used. Park the vehicle on level ground. Be sure to place the target correctly according to work procedure in the service manual, or use the ADAS recalibration system, such as maybe the True Point system. Do not continue with aiming unless the target is set properly. Otherwise, the system may become non-operational. So we want to make sure that the target is in place. And press start to perform lane departure warning camera aiming procedure. Do not start aiming if the target is not placed correctly. And then, as long as the target's where it needs to be, you hit start and it'll go and aim it. Front radar, that is going to be under the laser/radar there. So once again, a functional test to recalibrate that, and there are some special functions in there. And then we would go through a couple screens, and it brings you here to make sure the vehicle's not moving, ignition on, target board is set properly. Once again, there's a target for the radar, and then it's going to tell you what the factory aiming degrees are, whether how far it's off, up and down, and where the actual value is. And you make a few adjustments, and then hit continue and get it calibrated. Also note that radar alignment procedure requires a four-wheel vehicle alignment before proceeding with the radar alignment procedure, because once again, as we always say, it's based off the center line of the vehicle, so we need to make sure that the vehicle is lined up properly. Always perform the radar alignment after removing and installing or replacing the sensor. You go through the few different steps there, and then you're going to go in under laser and radar, and then you're going to do that adjustment like we said. And then just click start after the preparation information, and then next after starting alignment, and it'll do an alignment what it needs to do. Never select start unless the target is placed properly. Rear radars is going to be on the back corners of the bumpers there. So we see there's the driver's side and there's the passenger side, right? And in this case, that would be under either the left or the right. And also in this case, no calibration needed, but you would get codes and data in the side radars there. 360 camera, there's an aiming situation involved with that as well. So we'd go into the around view monitor to find that. And then there's special functions in there as well as codes and data, of course. And then in this particular variant, there are a few different variants out there across Nissan. But we can do separate driver, passenger, front, and rear calibration separate. Reinitialize the camera image calibration, fine-tune bird's eye view, and then a couple things that'll tell us what made us cancel the lane departure warning, blind spot warning, predictive course line display. So that'd be the lines on the backup camera, steering angle sensor adjustments in there as well, rear camera and rear wide view fixed guideline correction as well. Okay, so that's the 18 Rogue. We also have a 2014 Altima, and a 2014 Altima, 11-year-old vehicle, not necessarily going to have all that much when it comes to ADAS, but it does have one thing that does a lot of heavy lifting. That's the rear camera. So the rear view, according to service information, is used for lane departure, park assist, and blind spot warning. So it uses all of that to see if there's someone in your blind spot, if there's to help, of course, back up. And lane departure, it must kind of read where you're at in the lanes, I guess. And there it is on the back on the trunk lid. And in order to aim it, there are targets involved with this. We may have noticed that a lot of rear cameras throughout this series, they don't really need any targets, but in this case we do. We got 3 different targets there, center, left, and right. And then that would be in the part of the around view monitor, actually. And then you can go into the special functions there. And then that'll give you the camera image calibration. And you can also do the guidelines, course lines, etc. 21 Sentra. So 21 Sentra is a little more complex than the Rogue. A few years newer. Front and rear radars, rear blind spot monitor, adaptive cruise control. 5 cameras, once again, front view, rear view, and 360 around view, and 4 ultrasonic sensors in the rear. So coming up on the newer vehicles, they are using ultrasonic sensors now. Front camera up by the windshield again. It's going to be looks a little bit different. Also remember, from roughly 2020-ish and newer, maybe 19, a lot of this is behind security. So it does have security link through auto off, much like we would be familiar with Chrysler. It's just an additional OEM that you would need to add. Oops, hit the wrong button there. Hit the wrong button. There we go. It would be just another OEM you'd need to add to an auto auth account, and a couple boxes you'd need to check on your Snap-on account to make sure that they're linked. And then once that's the case, you would go through and it would unlock. And as we would see, we have all of the very similar listing as we would see in the Rogue, right? So we have the around view monitor, laser and radar. The around view monitor is actually where you would calibrate that camera. Front radar, once again, that'd be under laser radar, and it's the same procedure as it was on the Rogue, so we don't really need to get deep into that, but it would be under there. And then the rears, once again, you're going to have your left and right side radars available for that. Codes and data only. 360 camera, there's a calibration for that. That's once again in the around view monitor. And this one does have park assist. So found this interesting in a bulletin on the ultrasonic sensors. Not just for Nissan. This would hold true for any manufacturer, but in this case, they actually call it out. So mud or dirt on the sensor is going to cause it to not work properly, hitting chips and damage, and then snow or ice blocking the sensor as well. You can see how we got snow and ice over that sensor that's right there. So that's just a couple examples of what might be a problem. However, you may remember across other manufacturers that there really aren't usually any sort of resets, relearns, or calibrations, but in this case, it does. So in the sonar, we would go in there, and there are special functions in there. And we have corner sensor distance setting, center sensor distance setting, and then the volume for the beeps, trailer hitch mode, if you have a trailer hitch there, so it wouldn't be constantly going off. Parking width level setting, and tire diameter setting, because the tire diameter is going to change. So if I wanted to go into the sensor distance setting, you can go in there, and it's just a setting. So near, normal, or far, or farthest, and then it'll tell you what the whatever the current setting is, and then you set it, and then you hit save, and then it's done. Easy enough. All right, so let's go live on the tool. Not a lot of complicated stuff when it comes to ADAS with Nissan. It's fairly simple, straightforward. You do need some targets on the cameras and the radars, but by and large, mostly pretty straightforward. So let's start with the road. Go in there. And we come down here to ADAS and driver's aid. So we can go to the around view monitor again. And you see there's all sorts of variants in here. So when I do the simulator, you have to choose the variant. Now on a real live car, it's going to automatically detect the variant. You would never see the screen anyways. We'll go in under special functions there, and you can see here's where we can do the different calibrations on the cameras. So let's say I wanted to do that, and then in this case, it's going to error out because I am in a demo mode. Fix guidelines, correct the rear wide view, fix guidelines, park the vehicle on level ground. And then once again, it's going to error out for me again. So a lot of these things you will need a target for. I'll actually take a look at that in a minute. Laser and radar. So once again, sim mode. So we might need to pick one. We're going to pick this one. Special functions. Calibrate the laser and radar. Please follow service manual instructions for radar beam aiming. On every rotation, the adjustment screw, the radar angle would change by approximately 1 degree. Rotation direction depends on the vehicle. So you can go in and you can say how it measures, whether or not it's off, up or down, and left or right. And then you just hit continue. And then it would do the put the target board where it needs to be, plus continue. And then once again, it's going to error out on me because I'm in a simulator. But if we go into repair information, we'll load this vehicle. And we can go into ADAS and forward-looking radar. Once again, replacing the radar sensor needs special tools such as a target, and then it needs a scan tool. So if I go in there, let's call it all-wheel drive. And then after repair information should give us our alignment. So distance sensor alignment. So level location, a few feet of working space in front and surrounding the vehicle. Vehicle must be stationary and unoccupied. Any slight vibration during the alignment procedure can cause the test to fail. This happens, you'll have to restart the alignment process. Battery voltage must not fall below 12 volts. Remember, it is going to take a considerable amount of current as well, so it might drain the battery pretty quick. Adjust the radar alignment with the scan tool. Okay, and then we have the following tools are necessary. So this is the target board here. You can see how there's 3 different positions, up, down, and straight ahead. So it's going to have you go into each position. Also need to self-centering wheel adapter. So you need to be able to center the wheels or align the wheels. Laser assembly. And then this is the stand for that. And then we need to make sure the tire pressure is correct, empty the vehicle, shift the select lever to P, fully fill the fuel tank, check the coolant nodes are filled up to the correct level, and then clean the area of the grill. So in this case, it's underneath the emblem. And then we need to do some measurements. In this case, they want you to use a plumb bob. And then target board, front facing the right front side of the vehicle over here. And then it's going to shoot. And then it'll bounce off of that. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but you need to make sure that you have the proper measurements, the proper distances, of course, and then the targets where they need to be. And then if it does fail, it'll also tell you how it could fail. And then if it does fail, how to fix it. So that is that procedure. Let's look at the camera here. So let's say the outside view camera. All right, so this is a round view monitor, automatic emergency braking. That's using the upper camera, right? So it's going to give you some targets that you need to use. Tape 3 black sheets of paper. Tape 3 sheets of black paper and 3 sheets of white paper together to make a target 14.7 by 9.45 inches. So they don't even need a fancy target, they say, even though you can get them, I'm sure. But use it on a monochrome whiteboard. Make sure they're straight. Make sure they're where they need to be. And it's going to look something like this. It's going to give you a bunch of measurements in there. Center lines. So use some construction paper in their case. It's interesting. Or just use the proper target. Right? And it's going to give you a bunch of distances and stuff like that. You can even print out your target mark. Print it out in black ink, I guess. Probably wouldn't work that well. I would use construction paper, if anything. So yeah. Interesting how they have you do it. All right, and then let's just take a look. I haven't looked in here yet. See if there are guided component tests on this. Let's see. Let's do a Rogue SV. See if there are. Yes, there are. Driver aids and ADAS. So there are guided component tests on this, and in this case, just for park assist. So that'd be your cameras. So in this case, we would just be checking for voltage. So camera power supply ground, image signal and image ground. Light green and shield, so it's a shielded cable. Keon power is sent to the front view camera when the vehicle is placed in reverse. The camera switch is turned on. The front view camera then transmits the video signal to the round view monitor control unit, which then retransmits the signal to the display unit. So once again, no ultrasonic sensors in this case. Uses the cameras for park assist. All right, so that's the Rogue. And then we also have the Altima, which, like I said, it's not going to be a lot, but it does use that one main camera in the back. We go in there, round view monitor. We'll go with can. I'm just going to pick one. Right, so actually that's probably the wrong variant for that. Let's just go with default. No, default doesn't have it. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, it's going to have a bunch of different surround views, right? Oops, that's the same one. Many different variants in there, but you would do the camera calibration with that. Like I said, let's go into shop key. Talk about that because that'll have your targets shown on the floor. Running a little slow tonight. Use this vehicle. Go to ADAS. That's a view camera. And it should have a calibration in here. Yeah, so lane departure, blind spot warning, all that stuff. So once again, target mark, So this one actually has targets that you would purchase. And then make some distances. They need to be front, center, and right, or left, center, and right. Based off a center line, find the center line of the wheels, and then put them left, center, right, marked how they are. And then check the camera height, make sure that's where it needs to be. And then we go through and run the tests. So the camera ITS controlling it, that's what it is. All right, so you need targets for that on a 2014 Altima. Go figure. Wonder if this has, probably not, because it only has the one camera, but you never know. Oh, look at that. Park assist for the camera. Look at that. So in that case, camera ground, camera image signal, camera ground, camera power supply. The vehicle is placed in reverse. Power sent to the rear view camera then transmits the video signal to the display unit. It's transmitted over discrete positive and negative signal circuits. Metallic foil encases the video signal circuits and is tied to a shield ground circuit. And then you can do a DC voltage test, checking for power supply. There you go. And then lastly, we will go through the Sentra, the newer Sentra. Once again, that is behind security. So we got security link. Okay, unlocks it. And then we'll see available. And then you can come down here, same type of deal. Here's that sonar. Pretty sure it was in this one. No, the other one must be. There we go. So corner sensor distance setting, center sensor distance setting. So I'd go in there, I'd say, hey, I want it far. And then hit save. Oh, yeah, that just saves the movie. Just hit far and exit, I guess. And that'll put it where it needs to be. Parking with level setting. So level 1, 2, and 3. Hit exit, goes. It's just a programming function. Tire diameter setting. So you'd have to go in there under millimeters. What's the diameter? Let's say it's like, I don't know, 1,000 or something. Nope. 655 is the max. So we'll say 655. There we go. Programs it in there. Programs it in there. Done and done. And then trailer hitch mode, on or off. I don't know what you'd necessarily be towing with a Sentra, but it's available. Let's see if this one has got a component tests. No. Okay. Let's go on shop key real quick. And in this case, we have our different things. So let's say, forward-looking radar again. That's going to be the same procedure. It should be the same procedure as the road. Distance sensor alignment. In this case, it's behind there. You need this much room. String and a plumb bob to find the center line. This might be a slightly different target, I guess. But yeah, it's a different target. They don't really give you a good view. Oh, no, it's the same target. Never mind. It's the same target board. Leaning forward, leaning backwards, and flat up and down. All right. So that is Nissan. Fairly straightforward. They're pretty much the same across the board, at least as far as I could figure. They call it ProPilot Assists, and they use multiple sensors to allow the car to kind of almost self-drive down the road. Targets needed for most calibrations. So it's a little more complex, but at least it's the same target, it seems to be, across the board for many of them. So not a lot of components needed, not a lot of parts needed. So that is Nissan. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. Next week, we are getting into diesel emission system operation and testing. So this is focusing on light-duty diesels, right, up to, like, say, 1 tons. The same type of principles apply on the heavier trucks. It's just we're going to be focusing on, say, up to 1 ton vehicles. So we'll talk about SCR and DPF and AdBlue and all that other good stuff. So hopefully you'll join me again. Same time, same place, every Tuesday, 6 and 9 Eastern. Go to snapon.com/OT if you want to join on Zoom. Otherwise, you can go to the 6 p.m. class would be on YouTube, and the 9 p.m. class would be going to our Facebook page. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, scan that QR code. It'll bring you there, and it'll subscribe you automatically there. It's youtube.com/snapon diagnostics if you want to go there. If you want to see any of the other topics in this series, this is episode 119 right now. So anywhere from intro to ADAS through vehicle maintenance functions that we did last week and everywhere in between. They are all also available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/snap-on-diagnostics. Go check that out. They're all free. They're all roughly, half hour, 40 minutes long. And there is a playlist for live trainings. It's easy to find. Also, do we have your email address? If we don't have your email address, you might be missing out on some good information when it comes to diagnostics, things like technical focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, new product releases. They send out my training schedule periodically. So you'll be getting that good, valuable information. If we don't have your email address and you're not getting it currently, you can scan that QR code there, and that'll bring you to a form where you can then fill in your information, and then you'll start receiving those emails. All right, time for questions. So it looks like we're pretty light today. If you do have any questions on Zoom, just make sure you use that Q&A button up at the top or bottom of your screen, wherever it is. On YouTube, Jaylee Lobo saying hello, always learning something new. Thank you. Thank you for showing up, as always. Pretty much every week you're there. So I definitely appreciate that. All right, and with that, looks like that's it. No real questions tonight, which is fine. So thank you very much. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day, spending a little bit of time with me. Hopefully you caught a little couple tips and tricks on Nissan. Hopefully I'll see you next week for diesel. With that, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a nice night and take care.